Kang Daeho sat at his desk in the busy trade station, typing numbers into his computer. The screen showed a long list of names, dates, and small notes. Other alien workers walked past his office and sometimes looked inside. They often shook their heads or made small laughing sounds. "The humans and their strange lists," one purple-skinned Zentoran said to his friend. "They write down everything." Even when someone gives them a cup of water, Daeho did not look up from his work. He had heard these words many times before. The aliens called his computer files the human ledger. They thought it was funny that humans remembered every small favor and every small insult. But Daeho knew something they did not know. These records were very important. His computer showed that 52 years ago, when Earth was very sick with a terrible disease, the Veltharian Empire had sent medicine. The medicine had saved millions of human lives. The Veltharians had asked for nothing in return. They said it was just the right thing to do. Daeho marked this entry with a red star. Red stars meant big debt to repay. Park Jin-woo walked into the office. He was Daeho's friend and worked in trade deals. "Have you heard the news?" Jin-woo asked. "The Veltharian Empire is in big trouble." Daeho stopped typing. "What kind of trouble?" "Money trouble." "Very bad money trouble?" "Their planets cannot buy food or fuel. The Zentoran hegemony has stopped all trade with them. They say the Veltharians broke some trade rules. What do the other big powers say?" Jin-woo sat down in a chair. "Nothing good. The Corthanian Republic said no when the Veltharians asked for loans. The Stellar Consortium said no too. Everyone is afraid of making the Zentorans angry." Daeho looked at his computer screen again. The red star next to the Veltharian entry seemed to glow brighter. "The Zentorans are being very mean," he said. "They want to destroy the Veltharian Empire completely." "Yes, but what can anyone do? The Zentorans have the biggest fleet in the galaxy. They have the most money. They have the most power." Daeho smiled. It was not a big smile, but Jin-woo could see it. Maybe they do not have the most important thing. "What is that?" "Friends." Later that day, Daeho walked through the station's diplomatic area. This was where all the alien ambassadors had their offices. The Veltharian office was at the end of a long hallway. Usually this hallway was full of people wanting to meet with the rich and powerful Veltharians. Today, it was empty. Daeho knocked on the door. "Come in," said a tired voice. Ambassador Veltar sat behind his desk. His blue skin looked pale and his large eyes were red from not sleeping. Papers were scattered everywhere. His once beautiful office now looked messy and sad. "Ambassador," Daeho said with a small bow. "I am Kang Daeho from the Human Diplomatic Corps." Velthar looked up slowly. "Human? I am sorry, but if you are here to ask for trade deals, we have nothing to offer. Our empire is having difficulties." "I know about your difficulties," Daeho said. "I am not here to ask for anything. I am here to offer something." The alien ambassador sat up straight. "Offer? What could humans possibly offer us? No offense, but your species is still very new to galactic politics. You have been part of our community for only 50 years. Daeho pulled out a small data pad. 52 years and 4 months, to be exact. "Do you remember what happened 52 years ago?" Velthar thought for a moment. "There was some kind of disease on your planet, I think." "The Red Death," Daeho said. "It killed 20 million humans in 6 months. Our doctors could not stop it. We asked the galaxy for help. And most species said no. They were afraid. The disease might spread to their worlds, but the Veltharian Empire said yes. Your ships brought medicine and doctors. Your people risked their own lives to save ours." Veltar's eyes became a little brighter. "I remember now. Emperor Veltharon said it was our duty to help those in need." "Your help saved 40 million human lives," Daeho said. "We have never forgotten this." That is very kind of you to remember. But how does this help us now?" Daeho put his datapad on the desk. "Humans do not forget debts. We also do not forget how to repay them." The screen showed numbers that made Velthar's eyes go very wide. It was a loan offer, but not just money. The humans were offering industrial equipment, skilled workers, and technology transfers. The total value was more than some small planets were worth. "This is impossible," Velthar whispered. "Humans do not have this much wealth. Your colonies are still growing. Your fleets are small." "We have something better than big fleets," Deho said. "We have good friends." "Friends?" "The Eldorian Confederacy owes us for helping them with their food crisis last year. The Nexian Trade Guild remembers when we shared our mining techniques with them. The free colonies of Terminus still thank us for the medical supplies we sent during their plague." Velthar stared at the numbers on the screen. "You mean other species are helping you help us? When humans help someone, we do not ask for payment right away. We wait, we watch, we remember. And when the time is right, we ask our friends to help us help others." "But why? Why would you do this for us?" Deho stood up. "Because 52 years ago, when our people were dying and most of the galaxy turned away, you did not. You helped us when we needed it most. Now you need help and we will not turn away." The ambassador was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "What do you want in return?" "Nothing more than what you wanted 52 years ago," Deho said. "To do the right thing." As Deho walked back to his office, other aliens in the hallway watched him go. They had heard rumors about the human offer to the Veltharians. Most thought it was impossible. Some thought it was stupid. Chancellor Crix, from the Zentoran hegemony, stood near a window, watching the human diplomat walk away. His red eyes were full of anger. "Foolish humans," he said to his aide. "They do not understand how galactic politics work. They will learn soon enough." But Crix did not see the small smile on Deho's face, and he did not know about the red stars in the human ledger, stars that marked not just debts to be repaid, but friendships to be built. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had their own way of playing politics, and their game was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the humans made their strange offer to the Veltharian Empire. Li So-young stood on the observation deck of a Veltharian factory ship, watching hundreds of workers move with purpose and energy. The ship was building new mining equipment at a speed that amazed everyone who saw it. "I still cannot believe this is the same factory," Admiral Velnara said as she joined So-young at the window. 3 months ago, our workers were slow and tired. Our machines were old and broken. Now look at them." So-young smiled as she watched a team of Veltharian engineers test a new mining robot. The robot was 3 times faster than the old models. "Your people learn very quickly," she said. "We just showed them some new ways to do things." "Some new ways?" Velnara laughed. "You have given us technologies that are years ahead of what we had. Our ships are faster now. Our factories make better products. Our mines pull more metals from the ground in 1 day than they used to in a week. We like to repay our debts with interest," So-young said. On the other side of the galaxy, Ryu Hyun-sik was answering questions from a group of very confused alien trade officials. They had come to see why Veltharian products were suddenly so much better than their own. "How did you do it?" asked Trade Minister Zefix from the Corthanian Republic. "How did you take a failing empire and make it strong in just 3 months?" Hyun-sik pulled up holographic displays showing the Veltharian factories. "We did not just give them money," he explained. "We gave them knowledge. We taught their workers new skills. We showed their engineers how to build better machines." "But why?" asked another official. "What do you gain from this?" "We gain friends," Hyun-sik said simply. "Good friends are worth more than gold." The aliens looked at each other with confusion. This was not how galactic politics worked. When one species helped another, they always asked for something in return. They wanted trade deals or territory or military bases. But the humans seemed to want nothing except friendship. "There must be something else," Zefix insisted. "No one gives away valuable technology for free." Hyun-sik showed them another display. This one showed a map of human space and all the species around it. Green lines connected humans to dozens of different alien civilizations. 6 months ago, we helped the Eldorian Confederacy solve their food shortage, he said. We did not ask for payment. 2 years ago, we shared our medical knowledge with the Nexian Trade Guild when their colonies got sick. We did not ask for payment then either. So what did you ask for? Nothing. But when we needed help to help the Veltharians, all these friends were happy to work with us. The Aldorians gave us rare metals. The Nexians shared their transport ships. Everyone contributed something. One of the officials pointed at the display. You mean all these species helped you help the Veltharians? Yes. And now the Veltharians will help us help someone else when the time comes. Back on the trade station, Chancellor Crix was reading reports about human activities across the galaxy. Each report made him more angry and more worried. Look, at this, he said to his aide, throwing a datapad on his desk. The humans helped fix the Stellar Consortium's communication problems last month. They sent engineers to repair damaged colony ships for the Free Worlds Alliance. They even gave agricultural equipment to 3 different minor species. Why does this worry you, Chancellor? The aide asked. Because they are building something, Crick said. I thought they were just being foolish and generous. But now I see the pattern. Every species they help becomes loyal to them. Every favor they do creates a new alliance. Crix pulled up a star map on his wall screen. Red dots showed Zentauran space and their allies. Blue dots showed human space and their friends. 3 months ago, the red dots covered much more of the map than the blue ones. Now the blue dots were spreading everywhere. The humans are not being generous, Crix realized. They are being smart. Very, very smart. Meanwhile, in a quiet meeting room on a human colony world, Kim Tae-jin was talking to a group of human diplomats and engineers. On the table in front of them lay the human ledger, but it was much bigger than it used to be. The Veltharian operation was a complete success, Tae-jin reported. Their empire is now stronger than it was before the crisis. Their military is modernized. Their economy is growing. And most importantly, they are completely loyal to humanity. What about the other operations? Asked one diplomat. Also successful. The Aldorian food crisis has made them dependent on our agricultural knowledge. The Nexian medical emergency has given us strong ties to their trade guild. The Stellar Consortium now uses our communication technology on all their ships. Another diplomat raised her hand. Are we moving too fast? Some species are starting to notice the pattern. Tae-jin smiled. Let them notice. By the time they understand what we are doing, it will be too late to stop it. He pointed to different sections of the ledger. Every species we help becomes part of our network. Every favor we do creates a bond that cannot be broken by force or money. The old galactic powers rule through fear and domination. We rule through friendship and loyalty. And if they try to fight us, then they will discover that our friends are also their enemies, Tae-jin said. The Zentaurans may have the biggest fleet, but we have something better. We have allies who will fight for us because they want to, not because they have to. On Zentauran Prime, Chancellor Crix was calling for an emergency meeting of the great powers. Representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy gathered in the Grand Council chamber. Fellow leaders, Crix began, we face a new threat. The humans are using their false generosity to steal our allies and build their own empire. The humans? Laughed the Corthanian representative. They are barely 50 years into galactic civilization. They have no great fleets, no vast territories, no ancient bloodlines of power. That is exactly why they are dangerous, Crick said. They do not play by our rules. They do not conquer through force or by loyalty with gold. They create bonds that are stronger than both. The Stellar Consortium delegate spoke up. Even if this is true, what can we do? Their methods are not illegal. Helping other species is not a crime. It is a crime against the natural order, Crix declared. For thousands of years, the strong have ruled the weak. The rich have commanded the poor. The ancient powers have guided the younger species. The humans threatened to change everything. In the silence that followed, each representative thought about their own empires and their own power. They had built their strength on being superior to others. If the humans succeeded in making all species equal partners, what would happen to their dominance? What do you propose? Asked the Corthanian. Crick smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. We remind the galaxy who the real powers are. We show them that human friendship cannot protect them from our strength. But Cricks did not know that 3 species in the council chamber had already received help from humans, and they remembered their debts just as clearly as the humans did. The game was becoming more complex and the stakes were getting higher. But the humans had been preparing for this moment since they first joined the galactic community. They had been building their network one favor at a time, one friendship at a time. Soon everyone would learn what it meant when humans decided to collect on their debts. Kim Tae-jin stood in the center of the human coordination chamber, a room that few aliens had ever seen. Around him, holographic displays showed the entire galaxy. But this was not an ordinary star map. Thousands of colored lines connected different star systems, creating a web of relationships that spanned known space. "Show me the current network status," Tae-jin said to the computer. The display changed. Green lines showed species that owed favors to humanity. Blue lines showed species that humanity had helped recently. Gold lines showed the strongest allies, species that would fight alongside humans if necessary. Red lines showed potential threats. Dr. Yang Hye-jin walked up beside him. She was the human expert on alien psychology, and she had spent years studying how different species thought and acted. "The network is stronger than we ever imagined it could be," she said. "We now have friendly relationships with 67 different civilizations. 42 of those consider humans to be their closest allies." "What about the opposition?" Yang pointed to a cluster of red lines. "The Zentaurans have convinced 8 major powers to join their coalition against us. They plan to demand that our allies choose sides." Tae-jin smiled. "They still do not understand how this works, do they?" "No. They think loyalty can be bought or forced. They do not realize that the bonds we have built are based on something much stronger." In another part of the chamber, Choi Min-ho was working with a team of strategic planners. They were looking at detailed files on every species in the galaxy. Each file contained information about their culture, their needs, their fears, and their dreams. "The Zentaurans make the same mistake that all the old powers make," Min-ho explained to his team. "They see other species as tools to be used or obstacles to be removed. We see them as friends to be helped." "But our help is not random, is it?" asked one of the younger planners. "Of course not," Min-ho replied. "Every favor we do is carefully planned. We study each species for months before we approach them. We learn what they need most, what they fear most, and what they value most. Then we offer help that matches their specific situation." He pulled up a case study on his screen. "Take the Eldorian Confederacy. They are a proud warrior culture, but they were facing starvation because their homeworld soil was becoming poisoned. Other species offered to sell them food, which would have made them dependent and weak. What did we do differently? We gave them soil restoration technology and taught their people how to use it. We did not make them dependent on us. We made them stronger and more independent. That is why they are so loyal to us." Captain Nam Jun Seo entered the chamber carrying urgent reports. He was the military liaison who coordinated what humans called their humanitarian missions. "The Zentaurans are moving," he announced. "Their fleets are gathering at the border between their space and Veltharian space. Intelligence suggests they plan to blockade all human aid shipments." "How many ships?" Tae-jin asked. 800 vessels, including 12 dreadnoughts. It is the largest fleet the galaxy has seen in 50 years. Yang looked worried. "Our own fleet has only 200 ships. Even with Veltharian support, we cannot match their firepower." "We do not need to match their firepower," Tae-jin said calmly. "We just need to make them realize they are outnumbered." Nam looked confused. "Sir, I just told you they have 4 times as many ships as we do." "Ships are not the only things that matter in a war, Captain. Show me the communication logs from our allied species." The holographic display changed to show message traffic between human diplomats and their alien friends. Hundreds of conversations were happening simultaneously across the galaxy. "The Eldorians are offering to send their fastest attack ships," Nam read from the reports. "The Nexian Trade Guild is providing supply and transport vessels. The free colonies want to contribute their defensive platforms. The Stellar Consortium is offering their long-range bombardment cruisers. As more reports came in, the numbers began to change. The Zentoran Coalition had 800 ships, but the human network was offering 1,200 ships and more were being promised every hour. "This is impossible," Yang whispered. "How did we build something this large without anyone noticing?" "Because we built it one friendship at a time," Tae-Jin explained. "The old powers focused on controlling their own territories and their own species. They never paid attention to the small favors and minor alliances happening at the edges of their empires." Minho pulled up another display. "Look at this. Every species in our network has been helped by at least 3 other species in the same network. We did not just create bilateral relationships between humans and aliens. We created multilateral relationships where everyone helps everyone else." "You mean the Aldorians have also helped the Nexians? And the Nexians have helped the free colonies, and the free colonies have helped the Stellar Consortium. Each species in our network has friends besides just humans. If the Zentorans attack any part of the network, they attack all of it." On Zentoran Prime, Chancellor Crix was receiving very disturbing intelligence reports. His spies had been watching human space for months, but only now were they beginning to understand the true scope of human activities. "How many?" he asked his intelligence chief. "Our latest count shows humans have significant relationships with over 60 species, but it gets worse, Chancellor. These species have also formed relationships with each other. The entire network is interconnected." Crix studied the intelligence map with growing alarm. What had started as a few scattered blue dots around human space had become a vast web covering nearly half the galaxy. "When did this happen?" he demanded. "It has been growing slowly for decades, Chancellor. Every time we ignored some minor species or refused to help with some small crisis, the humans stepped in. Every time we used force to solve a problem, the humans used cooperation. And now they have more allies than we do. Their network includes species with advanced technology, large fleets, strategic locations, and vital resources. If they work together," Crix did not need to hear the rest. "If the human network worked together, they would be the most powerful force in the galaxy. Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "We strike before they can coordinate their response." But Crix did not know that humans had been preparing for this moment for years. In the human coordination chamber, alerts were flashing as sensors detected Zentoran fleet movements. "They are coming," Nam reported. "Multiple battle groups are leaving Zentoran space. Estimated time to our border, 72 hours. "Good," Tae-Jin said. "Send the activation signal to all network members. It is time to show the galaxy what real friendship looks like." Across known space, thousands of alien ships began moving toward the confrontation zone. These were not ships being forced to fight by their rulers. These were vessels crewed by species who remembered human kindness and who chose to repay their debts. The Zentorans had started a war thinking they faced only humans. They were about to discover they had started a war against half the galaxy. And at the center of it all, in a small chamber filled with holographic displays, Kim Tae-Jin watched his network come alive. For 50 years, humans had been planting seeds of friendship across the stars. Now it was time to see what kind of forest they had grown. "All units report ready," Nam announced. "Then let us begin," Tae-Jin said. "It is time to collect on our debts." The space around the neutral zone filled with warships as 2 massive fleets prepared for battle. Chancellor Crix stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his tactical display with satisfaction. 800 Zentoran vessels formed perfect battle lines, their weapons charged and ready. "Status report," Crix commanded. "All ships report ready for combat, Chancellor," his fleet commander replied. "Enemy forces detected at extreme sensor range. Preliminary count suggests approximately 200 human vessels." Crix smiled coldly. 200 ships against 800? The humans have made a terrible mistake. They should have stayed in their small corner of space and been grateful for what little power we allowed them to have. But as the hours passed, more ships began appearing on the sensors. First came the sleek vessels of the Veltharian Empire, their hulls gleaming with new human-designed armor. Then arrived the heavy cruisers of the Aldorian Confederacy, painted in their traditional war Colors. Chancellor, the sensor officer called out nervously. We are detecting additional enemy vessels. Many additional vessels. Crix moved to the sensor station and looked at the display. The small cluster of human ships was growing rapidly. Blue dots appeared on the screen as more allies arrived to join the human fleet. How many now? Crix asked. 600 vessels, sir. Still increasing. Admiral Crixtal, the Zentoran fleet commander, approached his chancellor. Sir, should we attack before more enemy ships arrive? Not yet, Crix replied. Let them gather their entire force. I want to crush them all at once and send a message to the entire galaxy. Sehun stood on the bridge of the human flagship, watching the tactical display with calm confidence. Unlike the Zentorans, he was not worried about the enemy's numbers. He was waiting for his friends to arrive. Admiral Beck, his communications officer, reported, the Nexian Trade Guild fleet has just entered the system. They bring 47 ships including 6 heavy carriers. Excellent. What is our total count now? 830 vessels, sir. We now outnumber the Zentorans. But Sehun was not finished. Signal the hidden fleets. Tell them it is time. Across the system, cloaked ships began appearing. The free colonies had hidden their defense platforms behind asteroids. The Stellar Consortium had concealed their long-range artillery ships in the shadows of dead planets. Species that the Zentorans had never even heard of emerged from hyperspace, with weapons ready. Impossible, Crix whispered as he watched his tactical display fill with enemy contacts. Where did they all come from? His intelligence officer was frantically checking his databases. Chancellor, we have identified vessels from 43 different species. Some of these civilizations were not even in our records as having significant military capabilities. 43 species? Crix felt a cold fear growing in his chest. The humans have convinced 43 species to fight for them? On the human flagship, Oda Young was coordinating with allied commanders from dozens of different species. Each group brought unique capabilities and technologies to the combined fleet. The Eldorians will lead the first assault wave, she announced, over the communications channel. Their ships are the fastest and their warriors are the bravest. The Veltharians will provide heavy fire support, came the reply from Admiral Velnara. Our new weapon systems are ready to prove their worth. The Nexians will handle logistics and medical support. The free colonies will establish defensive perimeters. The Stellar Consortium will target enemy command ships with long-range strikes. As Oda Young coordinated the battle plan, she marveled at how smoothly the different species worked together. Each group knew their role and trusted the others to do theirs. This was not a hastily assembled alliance of convenience. This was a network of true friends fighting for each other. Chancellor Crix realized he was facing something unprecedented in galactic history. Never before had so many different species united under a single banner. The humans had accomplished what the greatest conquerors in history had failed to do. Open a communication channel to the human fleet, he ordered. Admiral Sehun's face appeared on the main screen. He looked calm and relaxed as if he was discussing the weather rather than preparing for the largest space battle in centuries. Chancellor Crix, Sehun said politely, I hope you will reconsider this course of action. Many good people will die if this battle continues. You think your collection of minor species can defeat the Zentoran hegemony? Crix snarled. We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. We will not be overthrown by naive humans and their pet aliens. No one wants to overthrow you, Chancellor. We just want to be left alone to help our friends in peace. Your help is destroying the natural order of galactic civilization. The strong must rule the weak. The advanced must guide the primitive. That is how it has always been. Sehun shook his head sadly. That is where you are wrong, Chancellor. The strong do not have to rule the weak. They can choose to help them become strong too. The advanced do not have to guide the primitive. They can share their knowledge and let others find their own paths. Philosophy will not win battles, human. Perhaps not, but friendship will. The battle began with a coordinated strike from the human alliance. Eldorian fighters swarmed around Zentoran heavy cruisers while Veltharian battleships exchanged fire with enemy dreadnoughts. The Free Colony's defense platforms created protective barriers around damaged Allied vessels. Nexian medical ships rushed to aid the wounded from both sides. What amazed neutral observers was how the Allied fleet moved like a single organism. Each species contributed their strengths to cover others' weaknesses. When Aldorian ships took damage, Stellar Consortium vessels moved in to support them. When Veltharian heavy weapons overheated, Nexian technical teams provided rapid repairs. The Zentauran fleet, despite having more advanced individual ships, struggled to coordinate their attacks. Their admirals were used to commanding through fear and absolute obedience. But their subordinates were afraid to make decisions without orders, and orders took too long to travel through the rigid chain of command. "Our left flank is collapsing," Admiral Krickstall reported to his chancellor. "The enemy is using tactics we have never seen before. Each group covers the others perfectly." "How is this possible?" Krix demanded. "These species have never fought together before." "Actually, sir," his intelligence officer interrupted, "our records show that many of these species have participated in joint training exercises over the past several years. The humans called them humanitarian response drills, but they were clearly military practice sessions." Krix realized the humans had been preparing for this battle for years. Every joint rescue mission, every shared training exercise, every cooperative project had been building toward this moment. As the battle continued, something unexpected began to happen. Ships from the Zentauran coalition started withdrawing from combat. First, a few vessels from minor allied species began to retreat. Then, entire squadrons stopped fighting and moved to neutral positions. "What are they doing?" Krix screamed at his communications officer. "Sir, we are receiving messages from our coalition partners. They say they have no quarrel with the human alliance. Some of them claim they owe debts to species in the enemy fleet." The truth was becoming clear. Even within Krix's own coalition, some species remembered human kindness. They had joined the Zentaurans out of fear, but when faced with fighting, their human benefactors, they chose friendship over fear. Admiral Sehun watched as the enemy coalition crumbled, but he took no joy in the victory. Too many good beings had already died in this unnecessary conflict. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered. "This is Admiral Baek Sehun of the Human Alliance Fleet. To all Zentauran vessels and their remaining allies, cease fire and withdraw to neutral positions. We do not seek your destruction. We seek only peace." Some Zentauran ships began to withdraw. Others continued to fight, driven by loyalty to their chancellor or by pride in their ancient empire. But the outcome was no longer in doubt. The human network had proven that cooperation was stronger than domination, that friendship was more powerful than fear. Chancellor Krix stood alone on his flagship's bridge, watching his fleet dissolve around him. In trying to destroy the human threat, he had revealed to the galaxy just how strong that threat had become. The age of rule by force was ending. The age of rule by friendship had begun. 6 months after the Great Battle, Shin Bo-Ra sat in a conference room that had once been reserved for only the most powerful species in the galaxy. Now, representatives from over 70 different civilizations filled the vast space, including many who had never been invited to such meetings before. "The proposal before us today," Bo-Ra announced, "is the creation of the Interspecies Reciprocity Council. This new organization would replace the old galactic dominance hierarchy with a system based on mutual aid and shared responsibility." Murmurs filled the room. Some species were excited by the idea. Others were worried about losing their traditional power and status. Elder Kang Moon-Soo, who had been a young diplomat during humanity's first contact with alien civilizations, stood slowly to address the assembly. His hair was now gray and his movements careful, but his voice was still strong. 53 years ago, he began, humanity joined this galactic community as the weakest and youngest species. We had no great fleets, no ancient wisdom, no vast territories. All we had was hope that we could find friends among the stars. He paused, looking around the room at faces from dozens of different worlds. "Today we propose not a new empire, but a new way of thinking. We propose that strength comes not from ruling others but from helping them. We propose that security comes not from fear, but from friendship. We propose that progress comes not from competition, but from cooperation. Ambassador Velnara from the Veltharian Empire was the first to respond. The Veltharian people know the truth of these words. When we were facing destruction, the humans did not ask what they could gain from helping us. They asked only how they could help. That is the kind of leadership the galaxy needs. But not everyone agreed. A representative from the Corthanian Republic stood up, his voice full of doubt. "This all sounds very nice," he said. "But what happens when difficult decisions must be made? What happens when resources are limited? What happens when species disagree about important matters?" Han Jamin, who had been appointed as the first human galactic coordinator, answered calmly. "Those are the times when friendship matters most. When decisions are difficult, friends work together to find solutions. When resources are limited, friends share what they have. When disagreements arise, friends talk until they understand each other. And if talking fails?" the Corthanian pressed. "Then we keep talking until it succeeds," Jamin replied, "because the alternative is war, and war helps no one." The debate continued for hours. Some species worried that smaller civilizations would have too much power under the new system. Others worried that larger species would still dominate despite the reforms. A few wondered if the whole idea was just human propaganda designed to increase their own influence. But gradually, a consensus began to emerge. Representatives shared stories of how human aid had helped their people. They talked about joint projects that had benefited everyone involved. They described the sense of security that came from knowing they had friends who would help in times of need. The former Chancellor Crix, now stripped of his titles and power, watched the proceedings from the observer section. His Zentoran hegemony had been dissolved, its territory divided among species that had been oppressed for generations. But rather than being executed or imprisoned, he had been offered a choice: exile or rehabilitation. He had chosen rehabilitation, and had spent the last 6 months learning about human philosophy and methods. To his surprise, he found himself agreeing with many of their ideas. During a break in the formal sessions, Crix approached Elder Kang. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "I thought humans were trying to conquer the galaxy. I did not understand that you were trying to save it." Kang smiled kindly. "You were protecting something you believed in. There is no shame in that. But now you can help us build something better. Why would you trust me after everything I did? Because that is what friends do. They give second chances." As the days passed, the new Interspecies Reciprocity Council took shape. Unlike the old hierarchy, which had been based on military power and economic dominance, the new system gave every species an equal voice in galactic affairs. The Council's first major decision was the creation of the Universal Aid Network. This system would coordinate assistance for any species facing crisis, whether natural disasters, economic problems, or social conflicts. The help would be provided freely, without conditions or demands for repayment. "But how will we fund this?" asked a practical-minded delegate from the Nexian Trade Guild. Dr. Yang Haijin, now serving as the Council's Chief of Interspecies Relations, projected a holographic display showing resource flows across the galaxy. "Every species contributes what they can," she explained. "Those with advanced technology share their knowledge. Those with abundant resources share their materials. Those with skilled workers share their labor. No one is asked to give more than they are able." "And what if some species give less than others? Then they receive less when they need help." Yang replied simply, "The system is self-regulating. Species that are generous to others find that others are generous to them." The old galactic powers struggled to adapt to the new reality. The Stellar Consortium tried to maintain their traditional dominance through economic pressure, but found that their trading partners now had alternatives. The Corthanian Republic attempted to form a military alliance against the Council, but discovered that most of their potential allies were already Council members. One by one, the remaining holdouts joined the new system. Some joined because they believed in its principles. Others joined because they realized they had no choice. But all were welcomed equally and given the same opportunities to contribute and benefit. On Earth, in a small museum dedicated to first contact. A young human girl read the words carved into a memorial wall. In memory of all who gave their lives so that friendship might triumph over fear. Her teacher, Ms. Park, knelt down beside her. "Do you understand what those words mean?" she asked. The girl thought for a moment. "It means that being nice to people is more important than being strong?" "Something like that," Ms. Park smiled. "It means that when we help others, we help ourselves. When we make friends, we make the whole galaxy safer and happier. Is that why we keep the big list of favors? The human ledger? Yes, that's part of it. We remember every kindness and every cruelty, not because we want revenge, but because we want to make sure kindness always wins." Back in the council chambers, Han Jae-min was reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Crime rates were falling, as desperate species received the help they needed. Wars were ending as former enemies became partners in mutual aid projects. Scientific discoveries were accelerating as knowledge was shared freely between civilizations. It was not a perfect system. There were still conflicts, still misunderstandings, still species that tried to abuse the generosity of others. But for the first time in galactic history, the default response to problems was cooperation rather than conflict. Shin Bo-ra entered Jae-min's office carrying the latest edition of the Human Ledger. It was now a massive database maintained by thousands of beings from hundreds of species. But its purpose remained the same: to remember every act of kindness and ensure that good deeds were repaid with even greater good deeds. "Any interesting entries today?" Jae-min asked. "The Aldorians just finished building a new hospital on the Nexian homeworld," Bo-ra reported. "The free colonies shared their atmospheric purification technology with the recently discovered primitive species, and the reformed Zentaurans have volunteered to mediate a dispute between two minor civilizations." The reformed Zentaurans? That's unexpected. Former Chancellor Crick specifically requested the assignment. He said he wants to practice what he learned about peaceful conflict resolution. Jae-min smiled. This was perhaps the greatest victory of all, not just defeating their enemies but turning them into friends. Outside the council building, beings from dozens of different worlds walked together in peace. Children from various species played games that mixed traditions from their different cultures. Scientists from rival civilizations collaborated on projects that would benefit everyone. It had taken humanity 53 years to transform galactic civilization. They had done it not through conquest or coercion, but through the simple act of keeping track of favors and making sure that kindness was always repaid with greater kindness. The human ledger had become more than just a record of debts and credits. It had become the foundation of a new way of life among the stars, where every being mattered and every act of goodness was remembered and rewarded. And in small offices across the galaxy, new entries were being added to the ledger every day, as the cycle of friendship and reciprocity continued to grow and spread throughout the cosmos.